Readings and in the book, which was where? The beginning here somewhere.
Page 67, maybe?
You know this book better than I do.
No, you referred to it earlier.
Did I?
I made a note. Is it 67?
Yeah, that's it.
I just made notes of what you said.
And I don't know if I got the right question or not here, but I know what you said. So we'll go to, that's the same one. What we said that was 3?
We were in the third set of
Third set, okay, third set. So this is interrogatory number 7. Okay.
Yeah?
So you said that a K&A gang member said he committed crimes with me, and his name was George Smith, and the burglary you referred to occurred on August 11th, 1961, involving an automobile. Is that correct?
Correct.
You've also submitted to me DH-220, which I'm going to mark as 14. On that left-hand column, if you read what the judge said, this is the most flimsy case of burglary I ever heard of, the judge said. Absolutely the flimsiest. The case was produced for one reason, and I think you know what that is. They were going to get him. Well, they better get him on something better than this. The burglary of this bag is the great big case the police department is going to fasten on John Berkery. Does the Commonwealth contend, Judge Blank asked, that this little thing is a burglary tool? And with that, he threw the case out. So the case was acquitted. Now you're telling me that 20 years later, after George Smith denied the case, was found not guilty of it, that you went up to Holmes to Graterford prison, and with nobody present, this guy admitted to you that he was guilty?
Correct.
You'll have to save that one for the jury. Okay. And that's your only evidence of anybody ever saying they committed a crime with me. Is that correct? And when you say crew chiefs, and you say George Smith and Ralph Stano and Robert Paulson, you're speaking about this one thing here with George Smith. Is that what you're speaking of?
No, I'm not saying that they were involved in that.
No, not them involved in it. As far as George Smith's concerned, crew chief. Is that the crew chief, George Smith, that case there?
No.
No, what was other?
The conventional portraits, accounts of the Pottsville heist.
Where's George Smith?
He's not in that.
Well, how is it? You mentioned him as one of 3 people over whom the plaintiff was a crew chief.
He told me that you had earned, several people told me that you had earned considerable status from your participation in the Pottsville heist. It had.
But how does that make the plaintiff a crew chief over George Smith? Which is what you said. You didn't say it in this interrogatory, but you said it in other pleadings here.
George Smith told me that he did that burglary with you even though they beat it in court. And he also said that there were many people in Kensington and throughout the city who work with Kensington burglars.
I want to know how the plaintiff was a crew chief over George Smith alone.
I didn't say that you were a chief over him.
You said the crew was George Smith, Ralph Stano, and Robert Paulson.
In
That's
the
what you said.
Pottsville case.
No, you didn't say that. You just said that was the crew.
Well, I'd have to see that again.
Well,
I don't recall stating that those names ever worked together.
you didn't say they worked together. You just said this was the crew, whatever that means. The crew was George Smith, Robert Paulson, and Ralph Stano.
Of what? A particular burglary or ongoing burglary?
I said, what crew was I a chief over? You said over the crew of George Smith, Robert Paulson, and Ralph Stano.
No.
Oh, yes.
Where?
Not in that one, but it's in there.
I don't recall it.
It's not in this one, Mr. Berger.
So if you did say that, it'll be untrue. Is that correct?
I don't recall saying that.
But if you did say it, would it be true or untrue?
It would, in my estimation, be inaccurate.
All right, so I'll ask again, who was the crew that the plaintiff was the chief over?
In Pottsville,
Anywhere.
I am of the understanding that you were the crew chief of the Pottsville heist.
That's it. That's the only crew that you have a chief of, the Pottsville case. Is that it?
I believe there were others, but I don't know
The
of them.
case that was reversed as having been illegally obtained and expunged. That's the crew that I was the chief of. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Getting back to that Ferguson, that book you were going to do, you were also thinking about doing a book on John B. Rich, weren't you?
Yes.
And you contacted his son, Jack.
He contacted me.
He contacted you? How did he come to contact you?
He and others greatly enjoyed reading my account of the K&A gang and the Pottsville heist.
How could he greatly enjoy it when his father claimed to his dying day that he was only robbed of $3,500 and that the whole thing was a hoax by Ferguson? Why would he enjoy it?
He asked to meet with me. He wanted me to write a book about him and his family in Pottsville.
Did there come a time later when he broke off contact with you?
It was mutual.
Mutual, okay. And you had been to his, he maintains a place down at the seashore, doesn't he?
Correct.
He's a friend of mine.
Should have asked you to write it.
I don't write.
You certainly generate a lot of paper.
That's the problem. It breeds in the drawer. When you walk away, you got this much, and you come back, and there's this much. Okay. So that solves the crew chief problem. There was no crew, only Pottsville. Okay, now,